What's good, everybody? It's your boy Sunny, and I'm back again with another episode of Sunny Talks. And on today's episode, I'm here with a very special guest. I'm here with Ayla. How's it going, Ayla?
I'm going well. It's going well today. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Can't complain at all, honestly. How was your day?
It wasn't today was a it was a very nothing crazy, just a normal day, I guess.
Okay, that's good. Can't complain about that, right?
No, no,
So,
no.
guys, on today's episode, we're doing a little special thing. We're doing an audio only. But before we get into the episode, Ayla, can you let the people know where you're from, what you do, and where they can find you?
All right. So currently, where I'm from. I'm from Houston, Texas. That's where I live currently. I was born in Chicago. I was raised in the Valley in Texas, and I've lived in Houston for quite some time. Actually, this is my second time around since I moved for a little bit. I moved out of state to Massachusetts just to see what it was like to see snow, I guess, and uh, ended up coming back. And so now I live in Houston area. And you can find me I'm mostly on Instagram, but you can also find me on Reddit, on Instagram. So the name of my show is Steak, and that's Stake, and potatoes. And potatoes, the E is a three. I know that sounds complicated, but it's actually easier when you just look at it. And steak and potatoes came from steak is me putting my stake in the ground to say that I'm here, and potatoes because steak and potatoes just go together. And I've yet to meet anyone who doesn't like potatoes. And you
Yeah,
can find me on Instagram.
nice. Okay, so can you let the people know, give them a brief description of what you do on your podcast?
So my podcast is it's it's published nightly. And on there I leave it's the premise of it is that I'm your partner, whether that's your romantic partner, your business partner, or just partner in general, and I leave you a message every night to tell you about my day. And it's generally no more than like 15 minutes ish. It can be like 14:49 to like 16 and change, but generally it's under 15 minutes. And I'm just leaving you a message and telling you about my day. And I find that it helps me to get my thoughts out and like settle myself at the end of the day. And I just it for people who do listen, they find that it helps them to feel a little bit less alone because it's like I'm talking directly to you. And I feel like in this age where nobody really talks to, I mean, people really don't really talk to each other anymore, and people don't long no longer get voicemails. So
Mm.
it's kind of in that voicemail format. And it's like just I said it the other day. It's like I if you weren't important enough for me to do this, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't send you a message every night. So it's basically like a reminder that you matter and that you're enough, which is the message that I give to everybody.
Thank you. That's great. That's great. I love your podcast. I listened to a couple episodes, and it makes me just feel like I don't know. It just gives you a little chill vibe.
Yeah, it's just like just make you feel less alone. I don't script it because I mean if I was leaving you a voicemail, I wouldn't script that. The only thing is lately I've been doing what's called shadow work. And so I share my shadow work journal entries with you. Um, And so that may sound like I'm reading because I am, but other than that, I just start and whatever I get called to say is whatever I get called to say, and then that's it. And it's nice because you can binge a bunch of episodes at once.
Okay. So can you explain to me what shadow work is?
So shadow work is so I don't know like where you are on your journey, like your spiritual journey. But shadow work is some people go into the spiritual journey, and I did this for a long time too, so I can't, fault anyone. But you go into the spiritual journey and you're like, ooh, spiritual, and you're like love and light, like love everybody, right? But the person that you need to love most is yourself. And to me, your shadow is your dark side. Your shadow is the part of you that says, I suck. I'm not good enough. Like all the programming that you received at some point in your life. And it's like, how can I explain it? It's like you're like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna work out, right?
Mhm.
And you work out, but when you're not at the gym, you're like, cool. I'm not. You're like, oh, I worked out today. Blah blah blah. If it no, I guess it's like you're gonna go work. You're gonna like, I'm gonna lose weight, but you don't go to the gym, but you
Mhm.
eat better, so that's good. So you're like, improving like the things that you're eating, but you're like, I don't need to work out. I'm fine because I'm eating better. I'm eating high protein and blah 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 blah. But you're not going to the gym. You're not lifting weights. You're not increasing your flexibility, and that's what you need. Um, and without that, your foundation's not really going to be very good. So it's turning, I guess shadow work is like the strength training. It's the strength training that nobody, or like leg day. Because leg day is important, but not enough people do it. And without leg day, like you can't really do a lot. You know what I mean? Because if you have like, I mean, you can have like those. What's that guy with the cartoon? You know what I'm talking about? The blonde guy with the sunglasses, and it may be an older cartoon, but anyway, um, but you're like the upside down triangle because you don't have any leg muscles, and so shadow work to me is like building up your leg muscles so you're strong in all places, and it's making time for the parts of you that you don't think are that pretty.
Mm.
I, I
Okay.
I don't know if that's a great explanation for it,
I
but
get it. So it's kind of like it's just like your personal the work that you do that isn't necessarily seen. It's the little things you do for yourself to better yourself in a way. Is that it?
so like, okay, for I haven't done tonight's shadow work journal prompt yet, for example, but let me read it to you what tonight's prompt is. So today is day 20, the not enough syndrome. And the prompt is, when was the last time you thought, I'm not enough? What were you measuring yourself against? What would it look like if you realized you are enough right here, right now? And then the healing activity is to write a letter to yourself from the future, saying how proud you are of who you've become and all the things you've already achieved. Keep it as a reminder that you're always enough.
Okay.
And like, so it's like, hold on. And then the night before was the self sabotage club. And it's like, when was the last time you self sabotaged? What made you do it? Write about your patterns of self sabotage and how they've been protecting you from something like fear of failure or success. And then can you reframe the self sabotage as a tool for learning?
Okay. All right. So it's a bunch of interesting like it's kind of like a self-help
Yeah.
journal of the different steps. Okay, but so Ayla, so on the pod, we like to talk about our early lives and work our way up to the present. So can you tell me where were you born and raised? Well, you
I was
said
born,
Chicago, right? No.
okay. I was born in Chicago. However, I was only there for like um I left before I was 2. So I don't remember a whole lot about Chicago. My first memories were actually in Texas.
Okay.
Um, there's actually a saying in Texas that's on the bumper stickers, and it says, I wasn't born here in Texas, but I got here as fast as I could.
Hmm.
And so I always used to joke that my life was like that bumper sticker. Um, but I was born in Chicago, moved down to Texas, and then I was in the Valley in Texas, so the Rio Grande Valley.
Okay.
Um,
There we go.
so yeah, it's called the Rio Grande Valley, and so I used to say when I was younger, I was like, I'm a Valley girl, but not from that valley, like California. And then so I lived in the Valley, and then my parents moved us from the Valley up to Houston back in the early 90s. So I've been in Houston ever since,
Okay.
mostly minus a little 4-year break.
All right, and what's your what's your like background, like ethnic background or race or?
Oh, so I probably won't talk about that.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. I get it. It's kind of like the whole theme is like anonymous.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, okay. So how was it like growing up in Texas for you?
Uh, I so like when I was younger and I grew up in the valley, like I to me I had like I guess it's like a more wholesome childhood, I guess. Because I mean I'm older, so like back then it was like the 80s and it was like we knew our next door neighbor. Like we knew him from the day we moved in to the day we moved out. And we were outside children. Uh versus my brother and my sister who are younger than I am, they were indoor children. So they grew up indoors and my brother and I grew up outdoors. So we were like tan and like, kind of more like athletic.
Hmm.
And then the two of them, they grew up, they're like born, they're like close, they're like 80s, they're born in like the later 80s. So they were more like indoor children. And that's when the computers and things like that were starting to come around. So they grew up more inside than outside. So I was totally an outdoor child when I was growing up.
Okay. So what were like what type of activities did you get into?
I grew up in a family of like, there are 14 grandchildren in our family. Only four of us are girls. And the one I didn't meet until I was like graduated high school. The other one I didn't meet until I was in kindergarten. And then my sister wasn't born until I was like in fourth grade. So basically, I was like all boys, uh, all boys and me. uh, my brother, my two male cousins, my neighbor and his two male cousins, and everybody else. So I grew up very much a tomboy, which
Okay.
probably translates to how like life is for me now. Because I'm still not like, I mean, I'm girly, but not like overtly, I guess.
Okay, so you just grew up like hanging out with the guys pretty much. Get right.
I totally grew up hanging out with the guys, even when I got older and I graduated high school, and we would go out with the boys, and we'd go clubbing and stuff. Uh, I would get in the fights with the boys. Like
Okay.
I'll throw punches right along with them. And so like if the girls wanted to go out to the club, the boys would send me to be like their bodyguard, quote unquote. And the girls would be like, "Don't tell the boys." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And the guys would be like, "Oh, make sure they don't dance." And I'm like, "I'm just here to go out. I'm not really here to like, because they knew that I'd fight somebody. I don't care. I really don't. Because like there was I'll tell you a story. Like it seems, but it's funny now. But so we like years ago we were at the club and the boys were like, "Don't let the girls, dance with anybody." Blah blah. And I'm great. And so one of my friends, we were at the club, and she was dancing, and she's kind of shy. And this guy came up on her, and he was dancing behind her. And well, let's just say the way was dancing was kind of it looked inappropriate. How's that? Okay,
Yeah.
you can imagine. And so she's kind of shy, and so she was kind of looking at us like, "Hey, get me out of here." So I was like, "All right, come on, get out of here." So I pulled her out and I put my other friend there. And the same thing happened to her. And she's like, "Come on, get me out," because we're laughing. I'm like, "All right, come here, get out." And so then I put myself there. And then I put myself there. And then as soon as I turned around, the guy started doing the same thing. And my friend started laughing. And I turned around and I looked at the guy and I was like, "Hey, if I wanted to dance with you, I would be all up on you. Just, and
Yeah.
I turned like that was your warning. And I turned back around.
Yeah, like he doesn't see you like clearly trying to get you help your friend out of the same
Yeah,
situation.
yeah. So he's trying, he doesn't care. So I said, if I wanted to dance with you, I would be all up on you so you would know. But clearly you don't get the message, right? So I'm just telling you right now, I don't want to get off, right? So I turned around. He didn't listen. I was like, all right, well, you had your warning. And I took my elbows and I went, wham, and I jammed them into him and he left,
What, into
obviously.
like his neck or like his body? What did you
Like
say?
like just straight behind me. So like probably like his ribs or like his
Oh, you
stomach.
just swang backwards.
I just swanked straight back. Kind of like a not like a like kind of like a lat exercise where
Yeah,
you're
a little get him off me.
yeah, so I did like a really big row into him. He left, which was exactly what I wanted, right?
Yeah.
But later on, we were leaving and he was leaving. And I saw him from across the club and he was walking towards me. And he was looking at me and I looked straight at him and I locked eyes with him and I saw him turn around and go the other way. And I started laughing because I thought it was hilarious.
I mean, not much what you could do there. It's kind of a lose-lose situation.
I was like, well, if you're not going to listen, I did give you a warning. But yeah, the guys used to know that like I'll fight with them. I'll fight with all of them. I don't care.
Hmm. Okay, but I mean, were you a hothead or was it just situational?
Uh, I think it's like I mean, I think when we were younger, we were all rowdy. I don't, but I also think that like, like I grew up with boys, so I was used to fighting with the boys. Like, you're gonna hit my friend, I'm gonna hit you right back.
Yeah.
Uh, but also, um, I mean, yeah, I had anger issues, you know. Uh, but I'm like, well, but so I was like, I wasn't ever gonna be the like if you were going to come after me, I wasn't going to just be like, oh, please don't hit me. Stop. Don't do that. Like, I'm going to hit you back and be like, and like, maybe I'll lose, but I'm going to try. And you won't, that's just me. I have to be like that.
What instilled that in you?
What made me like,
Yeah, like what made you that way? Were you just always that way? Was it like were like guys always trying to like
I
or
think
were
like,
people just trying to mess with you all the time? Like what made you so tough?
so I think like, so like growing up, like me and my brother and my cousins and my neighbors, we used to like get in like play fights all the time.
Mm.
Like because like little kids do that, I guess. Um, and then same thing, like just as I got older, and then I think at some point, my brother he left the house because he couldn't take it with my parents. And I haven't really like I don't know for sure, but after my brother left, I think that's when my dad started like hitting me more often, whereas maybe they didn't hit me so much before, but then they started hitting me. Um, and I mean, I could say it easily, but my dad probably hit me from the time I was probably like 15 to 29.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. And it's just like, fit like 15 to 29. And I think when you're younger, like no matter the reason that they're hitting you, it still sucks.
Yeah.
And now that I'm older and like been more, I understand, like I understand, like trust me, when I say that I've done a lot of work trying to figure out why they did it, I did. And I like for things to make sense. So I've gone over it and I'm like, why would they do that? And I understand why, but just because you understand why doesn't make it And for a long time, I thought that my dad hit me because if my grandfather was alive, my grandfather would have still hit my dad because, that was that generation. And years later, I found out that my grandfather actually stopped hitting my dad when he was 13. And when I asked my dad about it, I said, if grandpa stopped hitting you when you were 13, why did you hit me? Why did you keep hitting me? And if grandpa said that it wouldn't do any good, and he didn't have an answer for me. But when I found that out, because it kind of like, once I found out that grandpa stopped hitting him when he was 13, it kind of broke my heart because I was like, well, grandpa stopped hitting you when you were 13. And it's kind of like when you started, like somewhere around that age is when you started hitting me. And why would you, like, why would you do that? Because and I said, well, why did grandpa stop hitting you? He goes, because he knew it wouldn't do any good. I was like, so he knew it wouldn't do any good. And yet you continued. I was like, okay.
Yeah, man, that's rough, man. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, but like, and it like affected me into my older age because I mean, most people whose parents hit them stop at a certain age, you know? And the only reason that they basically stopped is because I said I can't do this anymore and I moved out. And when people are like, "Oh, your dad's like hitting you," they're just like, "Oh, like, like he's just like taking his hand and like hitting you." I'm like, "No. If it was just taking his hand, I would have stayed. I would have stayed. I would have been like, whatever." Right? But we were getting like knocked down, drag out fights, and it was just like it was too much. And even I couldn't take it. And I found out like years later, and I didn't know this, um, but I moved out in 2009. And then funny thing was is that in 2019, at the end of 2019, I moved away from Texas, like the very end. And I remember I was talking to someone, and he's like, "Yeah, whenever if I ever reach out for you and you're not expecting it, you kind of cringe like I'm gonna hit you." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you do it all the time. You think I'm gonna hit you, so your body internally is like always dodging me." And I asked one of my other friends about that, and he's like, "Yep, you do that all the time. If I come up on you and I surprise you or something, I'm not going to, but you always like have this look on your face, and the way your body reacts is like you think I'm gonna hit you." And so yeah,
Okay, sorry. I mean, yeah, I mean, I know it's like it's not much me I could say by saying sorry, but it's like, and I don't want you to think like that's ever okay, because you were saying like when you found out the reason why, not the reason why, but like you said like it was kind of justified in a way. It's never just that type of behavior isn't ever justified.
it's not.
And but what was it just like you were being rebellious and then it was like he just hit you to try
Um,
to get you to
I don't
stop?
I don't you like I can't ever remember like what the fights were actually about because that's just how fights go, right? It's usually like big.
Yeah.
Um,
That's just his automatic resort to stop a fight or like to stop you from talking back. That was just his thing, I'm guessing. Not even to say that you were talking back, but that was just his that's how he resolved any issue that he had. Now, like you said, that was his because that's weird, man. Like to think that like his dad stopped hitting him at 13, but he started hitting you when you were older. Like it makes no sense. Like why would you inflict that type of pain?
I think like once I honestly I think it's once my brother moved out, like because he had my brother before and he had a boy, and then now once my brother said I can't do this anymore and he moved out, then it was me. And I tried to move out at one point when I was like I was like 18, and I tried to move out, or 19, But like I remember I told you I have two younger siblings,
Yeah.
and I knew from because my two younger siblings that my parents were not able to what like they weren't able to like make money and take care of my siblings at the same time.
Mm.
And so and then of course they're smaller, right? So then I was concerned that,
You have
well,
to protect them.
see, there you go.
Yeah.
And so I moved back home to take care of them and to protect them because I was like, if you're going to hit somebody, at least you're going to hit me because I'm bigger than they
And did your dad drink a lot, or was it?
are.
Yeah.
My parents, my parents don't drink. They don't
No.
drink. They don't smoke. They don't do drugs. And like in a lot of ways, that actually makes it worse.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
if they're drunk, I could if they were drunks or druggies, I could blame it on that. But no, I mean they were quote unquote of sound mind. They just had anger management issues. So I think, that was just it was just that was just it.
say your dad just basically had like a short fuse, and he would
Uh-huh.
just go off.
Yeah.
And what would your mom do in these situations? Sorry if it's just too intense.
No, this is like like when I told you like this is my life, like my mom is not so a lot of families I've come across in my life, they usually have what I call like a bad parent, and a good parent. And so like the bad parent is the one that's all like strict and like da da, like the abusive whatever parent. And then they have the other parent who's like the not abusive and is the nice one. But then I found out later on that the term for that is called an enabler because they know what's going on and they still kind of stay with them, so they enable that person. But regardless, um, yeah, no, I didn't have a good relationship with my mom either. Actually have started. There's days when I just call her instead of calling her my mom, I call her my dad's wife, and sometimes I call them both donors. But they've gotten. My dad has actually gotten a lot better, so he is not. He's gotten a hold of his anger issues. Um, my mom has not really. Uh, so that's why sometimes I call her my dad's wife.
Hmm.
But she and I have had issues since I was a kid. And I have never been able to figure out why. And I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know why, Um, she's just the way that she is.
So, do you see how you spoke to your dad, or your dad like talk to you about like his issues with his own father? Have you ever had that type of conversation with your mother or her about like how she grew up or anything like that?
I've tried. According to her, her family is perfect.
Hmm.
So when someone like everything that's in my family that is a problem is not her family's fault. It's everything is my dad's family's fault. She has she I don't because I don't and we don't know my mom's side of the family very well at all, so I can't say.
Oh, so none of them are around?
No,
Oh, because you're back, what, in Chicago?
they don't live here. They live out of the country, and actually, it's only my grandmother that's my mom's mom that's still alive.
Hmm.
And I think my mom said she's like 90, she's like 99. So I think she's like late 90s. She's almost 100. But
Okay.
they don't live in this she's the only one that's still alive, and we didn't really know much about them because my mom would say, like whatever, but she never really talked to them. She would talk to them, but she was the only one that talked to them, so nobody knew anything about them. So I don't know what she was like with them.
Okay.
So
So is
it,
your family like re super religious?
my father is very religious.
What
Uh,
what religion, if you don't mind me asking?
so my family is Christian.
Hmm.
My father actually has a master's in divinity. Um, his mother, on her side of the family, my great uncle recently passed away, and that was my dad's mom's sister's husband. So my grandmother's sister's husband
Hmm.
was a pastor, and there were like two or three or four other pastors in the family. And then my great uncle that recently passed away, he has three children, and his two sons were actually also pastors. So there's pastors all over this, were all over this family, but now they're all gone.
So
Like,
did your dad ever get to practice?
what do you mean?
Not like be a preacher or does he work in some sort of like in the church at any type of level?
He does mission work. Uh,
Okay.
so he does a lot of community outreach here in Houston.
Okay.
So I know like
Like so like homeless stuff.
not really homeless because so you know how like so you know if you go to like a Home Depot,
Hmm.
there's like a lot of like migrant workers.
Yeah.
So they do outreach with them.
Okay.
So I know on Wednesdays he goes to at least three different locations. Three? One, two. I think it's four different locations, and they do outreach with there.
So what they trying to swap him from Catholic to Christian? I don't think
I,
that I don't think that's it.
I don't really know, but like they just go out and they like I know they bring them like coffee and bread and like tea. And when I say bread, I mean like like sweets and stuff from like
The
whatever there's from
pastries.
Panera Bread.
Okay.
So like there's different pastries and things like that.
Panera, wow. We're fancy on them.
No, so Panera Bread has a donation program.
Oh, nice, nice.
So at the end of the night, whatever that they don't uh, sell, they donate. So we go pick that up like twice a week. It's not that fancy. It's free,
Okay.
but
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
still
it's
not
fresh.
bad though.
Yeah, it's fresh because it was made. It's like whatever they're eating was literally made like the day before.
Okay.
So, and then if there's not enough, then he supplements it with like the little bakeries, the Hispanic bakeries that are in Houston. A bunch of
Sorry. Okay, so take me back to like how was your time at high school growing up?
I mean, like I think my high school, like it wasn't anything like
Nothing out the ordinary.
no, I wasn't this amazing student. I was like I graduated, I think, in the third quarter of my high school class. I just I don't like I wasn't like an A B stellar student, you know. I was just a student. I went to school and nothing like amazing.
You're amazing. Don't stop saying that.
Well, you know what I mean, but not like um what's the word? Like I didn't have like this honor
You weren't
roll.
like this, yeah, you weren't on the honor roll or anything. I get it.
I wasn't a standout student. I went to school.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to get like a picture of like so we could describe to like the audience like what it was it like growing up for you. I'm trying to paint a picture. I mean, obviously like I know it's a little dark like with the whole like your dad situation, beating you and stuff. But
So I did so like for me, I think that so my dad gave me when I said about like the good parent, the bad parent,
hmm
um my mom was the emotionally abusive one.
Mm.
to me. And she's the one that was emotionally abusive to me, and my father was physically abusive to me. And I like uh, and then like I will and then like the other thing is like I was just there. Like I wasn't really like I thought like up until a couple of years ago, really, I thought I was an extrovert ish or maybe an ambivert. But I'm not. I'm totally fine with being at home. I'm more of an introvert. I do okay. I do fine one on one, But if I go to a party, I'm not that one that's like holding court in the middle. I'm in the corner talking to that one person that I'm the one who goes to the party and I leave with a new friend. People are like,
Mm.
oh my God, I love meeting you. And they just, because like I'm that person.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
chill. You're a homebody.
I'm a homebody and I go and I go to the party and I end up meeting one person and I talk to them the whole night long. And it's like even before if I have a superpower, right? It would be making you feel like you are the only person in the room.
Okay.
And that doesn't sound like a superpower,
It is though. That's an amazing superpower.
but I make you feel seen and heard. And I can draw things out of you that you might not know because I'm really good at asking questions. And so my friends make fun of me. They're like, you were that little girl that was running around saying, why, right? And I'm like, actually, probably not. That I probably wanted to, but I wasn't allowed to, I don't think. Um, so I had all these questions, but no one answered them. And so, like, I'm some people tell me they're like, yeah, I would go to a party and be like, okay, 5 minutes later, can we leave? And I'm here like, oh, I found a new friend. And my friend makes fun of me because they're like, who did you meet this time? And I'm like, nobody. They're like, come on. Okay, well, I just, but I I guess you see what's going on around you. Like just because you're introverted doesn't mean you're not paying attention. And I just pay attention and I I guess I make the world a little bit better place.
Okay. I mean, that's great. We know we all add something, and that's why I was telling you, like, you're amazing. Like, don't ever. I see that you have like a ongoing like theme that you like to self-deprecate, man. Like, you're amazing. We're all amazing, individually in our own way. And I know I don't know if you said this on the pod or this was before, but it's like we all have to see that light in ourselves. And I know you said that you've come to see it in yourself also. But I mean, like, you just gotta remember that part. Like, don't get used to saying like, "Oh, I'm just normal. I'm this and that." It's like it is okay to be a regular person, but like, don't downplay yourself because you don't know. You also don't know who you help out in the world.
Right. So that is another thing is that um, you're right. You never know who it is that you affected that day. Um, but that's enough. That's like I was I was watching somebody. I saw a video yesterday, and Lewis Howe was interviewing someone, and it says when you grow up as the child of narcissistic parents are very hypercritical and judgmental, and you grow up and you're like, oh, I'm never going to be like that. I'm not going to be hypercritical and judgmental. And the guy says, and then I go to them like, oh, when was the last time you were hypercritical and judgmental? When did the last time you yelled at yourself? And the people are like, oh, I don't yell at anyone. And he's like, no, no, I didn't ask if you yelled at anyone. When was the last time you yelled at yourself? And what happens is that when you are growing up that way, you end up being hypercritical and judgmental of yourself So maybe you don't do that to other people, but the way the parents treated you, that is now the voice in your head. And so if I'm self-deprecating to myself, it's because I'm still changing that programming so that I'm not as I'm not as hypercritical and judgmental to myself. And changing that vocabulary is not always easy,
Mm.
right? And so, like, I've come a really long way from where I was, but I still have further to go, you know? And I said this the other day to somebody, I don't remember, but people always say, "Oh, my self-confidence is like at the basement level," for example, right?
Mhm.
And my self-conf like the basement level would have been like amazing, right? And I say that as like a joke, but I'm like, dude, my freaking my self-worth was all the way down at the core of the earth. Like it dug down way deep. I'm like halfway to China, you know? And I had to dig myself out from that so that just now in the past couple years, like I had to dig myself out from the core of the earth to like up. And I've done so much work that I'm almost about to break ground.
Yeah.
But I still have work to do. But and when people are like, what? And I'm so that's where I say like my self-confidence before was like so low. Like when I say like I worked really, really hard on me. And when I say that, like ironically, we're not on camera today, right? But I used to be that person that was like I was team Android for the longest time because I didn't want to do FaceTime because I was like, who would want to see this face? Um, I hated the sound of my voice. I hated like if there's something about yourself that I could you could hate, I hated it. And like I my one of my really good friends, she only got 3 pictures with me a year, and the rest of the year don't even bother asking or trying because I was like, I was like, no one needs to see this face. It's, it was like that where you it didn't happen because I was like, no one wants to because I got the message when I was younger that my face was unattractive. And I get that and like I got that from my family.
Mm.
And so when you're it's like some days I would look and honestly, some days I would look in I lived with my roommate one time, my best friend, and she hung a mirror above the kitchen sink. It's like not a big deal, right? But some days I would look in that mirror and I'd be like, man, I grew up to be a pretty girl, right? And then some days I would look in that mirror and I'm like, I would not F me. And it sounds like really harsh, but it's like the truth, Like some days I'm just like, ugh, you know? And then some days I was like, oh, Sunny, like I'm beautiful today,
Yeah.
And but it takes a lot when because your family is the one that's supposed to like
Build you up.
tell you, yeah, tell you you're beautiful. And my family doesn't. uh and so they always made me feel like I was like they would tell me that I was smart, but they would tell they're like, "Oh, you're smart," because I'm like I can do like I'm smart at certain things, like the way my brain works, but they're just be like so stupid or like, so make it when you feel unworthy, it's like a micromanager. You damned if you do, you damned if you don't. If you do it this way, why'd you do it this way? If you did it the way they told you, well, why'd you do it? I told, and it's like
You
if
know what
you're
I've
always, huh?
sorry, I was saying, you know what I've noticed though? A lot of times when once people like they just constantly, oh, you're stupid, you're this and that. That's just them projecting the
Mhm.
insecurities that they themselves have, they might be intimidated by your knowledge or your beauty. Then it's just because they wanna tear you down to make themselves feel better.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, that's sometimes the way like humans work.
Yep. And I know that now as an adult,
Yeah,
that they're just projecting their insecurities onto me, but I didn't know that as a kid.
yeah,
And so I did a lot of work on myself to, you know, um, kind of to love the person that I am and like to see myself for all the good things that I am. But yeah, I mean, like when I started, like back in 2020, when I moved, so when I moved away at the end of 2019, I moved away to Massachusetts, which is about as far away from Texas as you can get.
yeah.
And I started, I, and then uh, COVID happened, and then just a lot of things, and I started. I was like, well, how can I learn to love myself, right?
Yeah.
And COVID started, and I was like, well, maybe I can learn how to model. And well, if I can model and if I can make money for, whatever. And like, I was just like, they're like, why would you do that? And I'm like, well, you need to be confident to be a model. And I was like, well, so I used to joke that I was like, all right, well, if I'm a model, then I will learn confidence through fire. I will learn how to do it because I'm being forced to do it.
Yeah.
Um, and then, but like, I still didn't want to be on camera, right? So that was when OnlyFans was starting to get popular. So I started on OnlyFans in 2020, and I never really made any money from it, but I made an OnlyFans account, and OnlyFans I think was free at the time. Was free, so they didn't charge you to post on there.
Yeah.
But and everyone always told me that I had pretty feet, so I was like, okay, well I'll just make an account, right? And I used to film my feet every day, twice a day. And it sounds funny, but I used to like talk to my feet. Like I would just be like, talking to them and telling my feet about my day and, whatever. But in order for me to get comfortable being on camera, I had to put my feet on camera first
Okay.
and like talk to them. So then it made me used to being on camera.
Yeah.
And so at first maybe it's like awkward, right? But then me just continuously doing it like every day, twice a day.
And you were uploading all of these?
Uh-huh.
Were you gaining traction or did you get subscribers?
No. I
Okay.
think at the end, okay, so in 2023, at the end, when I was about to shut down my OnlyFans account, I think I had 100.
Okay. Not that bad.
Not that bad, but like only like I think I had 100, and only like like two or three of them were commenting, and I had a free account
Okay.
for that whole time, for the whole time. And then in June or July, June, I think, of 2023, I said, you know what? I have 100 subscribers, but none of them really engage or whatever. And if like they don't comment or like or anything, and I said, you know what? If you don't appreciate me when I'm free, you will never appreciate me. So I switched to a paid account,
Okay.
and it was like I switched to it was $10, and you know what? I went down to 3 subscribers, right? Which you're like, what? 3 subscribers? But those 3 subscribers, man, they commented and liked all the time, and I appreciate it. It was like a real conversation. I loved it.
And were they already
Uh-huh.
were they the ones that were engaging before?
Yes.
Okay.
So they were like there was 100, and then of the 100, only three when I went to a paid model were going to was stuck around with me, and they would like make sure that they liked, they commented, and and I enjoyed having. I'd rather have three paid than 100 free,
Yeah.
because they actually talk to you. Um, but I started with that, and then doing that. twice. Then at the end of like towards the end of 2020, I got on YouTube and I was doing food reviews.
Okay.
Uh, and then that got me like my face on camera like regularly. So that got me used to it. Um, so I did that for a while.
But you were doing that under a different moniker, alias.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. I was
Okay.
doing that under a different moniker. And then uh it's at some point, and then I guess like 2020. So I did the food reviews for a long time, and then 2022, I got on Reddit and I started doing voice audios, which I can tell you right now, that is the number one thing I have done for my confidence by far. Um, and it because like honestly, I really did. I hated the sound of my voice. I'm like, who would want to listen to that? You know?
Called the what? Sorry, voice audio?
Huh?
You said it's called voice audio?
Yeah, like voice acting.
Oh, voice acting. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
it was
voice.
just what was there were there like different subreddits like the creepypasta subreddit and stuff like that.
So I'm back in 2020. I discovered the subreddit called Gone Wild Audio, and Gone Wild Audio is the like not suitable for work audio.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is Pillow Talk Audio, and so Pillow Talk is like like the girlfriend experience, like very sweet. Can be like a sweeter experience, and Gone Wild Audio is a lot. It can be joy audios, which are um, jerk off instructions,
Okay.
JOI audios.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
it
heard
could
of
be,
that. I remember I think isn't that like rising in popularity now?
uh, I don't know, but I did it back then. So I did a lot of jerk off audios, and I didn't write these. Okay, so you go on Gone Wild Audio as a voice actor, and you look for script offers. And you would read, I would go through the script offers and I'd be like, oh, that one sounds interesting. And then you start coming across writers that you really enjoy and you start performing their scripts. um but there were I think there were like there were two authors in particular who made like a really big difference to me. And so I always think of them with like so much fondness because one of them was like super prolific. So he was great for that. But the other one, he gave me such detailed feedback one time on a script that I had recorded for him that I went back and listened to it. And I think that was like I started recording in June, so it was in October that I recorded his script. And he gave me such detailed feedback that I went back and listened to it, and I was like, you know what? I might actually be talented at this. Um, but I didn't know that before. I just was doing it. But it gave me recording those scripts gave me an outlet for my feelings. And if I was to come up with a script every day, my brain is active. I don't know if I could. I don't know if I could. I mean, I'm sure I could with practice, but it's so much easier just to read someone else's words
Yeah.
and put it out there, and like the emotion and the feeling that you have behind it. And um
But
through doing that,
it's also like you're living vicariously through that experience also.
exactly. So you can be anybody you want to. Um, so I really enjoyed that. But those two, there's two authors. There, I think his the one author was called Teased to Tears,
Uh-huh.
and the other author, his name is Corey West. And those two authors, man, like they changed my whole like because I used to like rehearse and then I would record and then I would listen and I would edit. And then one time I came across this person, they're like, I don't listen. I don't edit. I just put it out. And I was like, sweet, makes my life easier. So I would just record. Same thing I do now. I just record and put it out there. I don't worry about editing. Um, and like, but so I used to rehearse, then record, rehearse, read through, then rehearse, then record. And with this author, teased, I was recording one of his scripts, and the rehearsal was better than what I put out there. And after that, because more emotion came out, because it was like the first time I read it like out loud. And after that, I didn't rehearse anymore. Now I just read blind. And when I say blind, I mean like I look at the title, I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. I'm going to record that. And the first time I read it is the first time that I'm seeing it and I'm recording it at the same time. So I'm just as surprised as anyone else what happens and what comes out. Like the emotion that comes through. To me, it's more real and it's authentic. So that's why I record that.
Okay. So something I want to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So during your whole time, we didn't talk about what were your like relationships like growing up?
Like romantic
Yeah,
relationships,
romantic relationships.
I didn't really have any.
You didn't have any at all? Like,
No, I'm like, I didn't really have very many. Um, let me tell you. So like what I'm about to tell you is 100% true. But
okay.
it's like, but if people are like, damn, that's some bad luck. Okay. Um, the first time I had sex, I got pregnant.
What?
Yeah. I
Okay.
was 19. I was 19 years old when I got pregnant. And it kind of like first time I had sex, I got pregnant. I got HPV. I got the HPV that
What?
causes cervical dysplasia, and I had cervical dysplasia, which cervical dysplasia is actually cervical precancer. So I got hit with all of those at once.
Wait. You got the HPV that causes what? Cervical
Cervical
dysplasia?
cancer. So I got pregnant. First time I had sex, I got pregnant. I got HPV. I got the HPV that causes cervical dysplasia, which is cervical precancer. And then I had cervical dysplasia. So back since 2000. And so when that happens to you, it makes you a little gun shy.
Yeah, I could imagine, yeah.
You're like, yeah, you know what? I don't really, so like and then like as the self-worth and everything. So I would like I like after and then I think the yeah, so then the first person I slept with like after I had the baby, I think it was like 2 years later. We had sex and then he dumped me, so that kind of made me a little like uh I used to have like really bad luck. Um now I know that it wasn't bad luck. Um it's that
You chose the wrong person?
it, how can I say this? It's not that I'm bad. So I am good luck, okay? How do we say it? It's magic, all right? The pussy's magic. Because and I say that like
You said the
jokingly.
pussy is magic?
Yeah, because like I would sleep with people and like man, they get promoted. They get promoted.
Oh, so you gave them your good luck.
Pretty much.
Oh
So like
no, you gotta keep that
these
in.
these guys they would get promoted. They like and like people are like, oh, they're like promoted. Their business blew up. They got hired by some company who moved them out of the country. Just like a bunch of stuff would happen. And now I look back on it, and it's not that. So I used to call myself good luck, but it's because they weren't worthy of me. And so spirit would remove them from me.
Yeah.
And so, but it was hard when you're going through it because you're like, oh, I like that guy. He seems nice and blah, and you're just like, oh, well, there goes another one. There used to be a movie a long time ago called Good Luck Chuck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And so I used to be like, I've never seen that movie, but I used to be like, I'm like that guy. Like people meet me and then good things start happening to them. So that's why I'm like, yeah. But so like I would just I mean, I would sleep with people here and there, but like sleeping with people is one thing, but like the ones I was actually interested in, like the first one I was in a relationship with, like an actual relationship
Yeah.
with. We dated for a while. We dated like I think we started dating in like October. Excuse me. And then he told me on March 14th that he got a promotion, which we knew, that he was coming up for a promotion. And I was like, yay. And he was like, oh, I'm moving. And I'm like, he's like, I got promoted. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Because, we talked about that he was going
Yeah.
to get promoted. And then he had two promotions. The next promotion would keep him in Houston. And the next one would probably, after that, would probably move him. He's like, okay, we'll just see where we are. Well, he got promoted and the promotion moved him from Texas to Florida. So that was kind of the end of that relationship.
Damn.
So he actually ended up leaving in May. And he was like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I mean, you're still here for 2 more months, so we'll just stay together. And he's like, even knowing I'm leaving, I'm like, well, at least we're together, and then I'll just deal with it when you leave, you know,
Yeah.
like I'll just deal with the sadness when you leave. And I found out later that I always thought I was one of those people, like when I'm sad, I eat. I'm not. I am not. So after he left, I think I lost like 20, 25 pounds the first month.
Oh man. I mean, that's still part of that, but it's just the opposite. Because that fluctuates. That goes both ways.
Yeah. And so I like at the end of it, I ended up losing like 48 pounds total.
Oh man.
But which people are like, that's bad. And I was like, well, I mean, on the flip side of it, at least I lost 48 pounds.
I mean, yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's be real, because if I gained 48 pounds, then I would be like, I'm fat and miserable, and just that's just real life,
Yeah, it
And I was like,
depends
well,
where
at
it
least,
goes, right?
yeah, for growth, yeah, at least I was like, well, at least I'm skinny and miserable, or but it just, it's, I mean, I still deal with it, like I still, I still kind of deal with that, like repercussions, I guess, from
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, we all. I mean, every day is a battle. We're constantly fighting. Every day is a new journey. Okay. So what happened? So the first guy, once you got pregnant, you were still living with your family at this point. What happened to
Mhm.
him?
The one that got me pregnant.
Yeah.
Nothing. Just one night stand. That was it.
Wait, but so you didn't know him?
I didn't know him that well, man.
So he didn't even get to find out you were pregnant.
Oh no, he knew because I gave my son for adoption. He had to sign the papers as a father to sign away his rights.
Okay.
He knew. He knew.
Okay.
Like I like sort of knew him, but not really. Um, and that was the end of that. And I don't know. Like I after with him, and then like all that stuff, getting pregnant, whatever. And then the first person I slept with after, you know, having the baby and all that, like a couple years later. Um, and then he dumped me too. So that kind of was like, oh, okay. So then it made me like not really want to get into relationships with people because I was like, great, you're going to dump me too, or whatever. And it just wasn't exactly gung ho about relationships, actively trying to be in one. And then, of course, I didn't want to be in a relationship with somebody who would be abusive towards me.
Yeah.
And growing up the way that I did, it would make you a little shy about that. So I kind of always held people at arm's length.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're gonna, I'm like, oh, you're eventually like it sounds bad, but like I would test people, you know, and not like test like if, but like you're like, I'm like, oh, that's not the real you. Eventually, the real you is going to show up, and the real you is not going to be this nice person that you are now.
Yeah.
Because my father is known as like a pinnacle of like an angel come to heaven, an angel come to earth, I should say.
Yeah.
And so everyone knows him as this like good, like holy religious man, but at
Yeah.
home was another story. So
Yeah.
I never really trusted that people were who they
Yeah, their true selves.
right because I'm like,
You
well, if my
used to,
parents can be
yeah.
like that, And then growing up, like when people would say like I love you, and I'm like, why? Because I grew up with conditional love. I'll love you if you do this, right? Versus unconditional. So when people are like, I love you, I'm like, how can you love me? I would question it because I would say, like, you don't know me. How can you say you love me? And the flip side of that is my parent. I'm like, and they're like, why would you say that? I'm like, well, my parents know me and they don't love me. And they're like, yes, they do. And I'm like, as a child, no, they don't, because that's how it came across to me was that they didn't. And it goes back to like, there's this saying about like, just because someone can't love you the way you need to be loved does not mean that you are not lovable. It just means that they can't love you the way you need to be loved, right? And like some people's love language is quality time, and other people's is acts of service and things like that. And maybe you need maybe you need quality time, and they can't give that to you, but they show it in other ways. And I don't know, it's just kind of
Yeah.
so I like me in relationships. I never really like other people are like wanting to get into relationships, but I didn't really want to.
No, I get
Um,
it. And I understand too. It's like you have your own things that you'll have to like you're still dealing with, and like granted, like we understand, like you have all the right to be standoffish, try to
mhm.
see if people are who they truly are.
Yeah,
Like I definitely understand that part.
yeah. I had major trust issues because I didn't believe that, uh and I get it too, like why I had trust issues, and I've had people try to gaslight me. Like even my if I try to get into an argument with my mom, right, she turns it around on me, and it becomes my fault,
Yeah.
no matter what the problem is, because it's never her fault. So then I'm just like, after a while, you're just, is it even worth getting into a fight? Because like maybe you're like it's 70% today. Right now, you're like, I don't feel that great. And then you go fight with them. And then they turn around on you and it's your fault. You walk away leaving like 14%. You're like, you know what? I think I'll stick with my 70% versus walking away with 14%. And I'm okay with that. And just like, and people are like, but 70% is not great. And I'm like, well, better than 14%.
Yeah, you it's like take what you can get, right?
Great. It's just I had to take what I could get. And my that's just the way that it is. It's like I have to choose myself and my mental sanity, or do I pick this or do I pick that? And a lot of times, you know, that's just how it is. And so with life, it's
So have you spoken to anyone to like a therapist or anything? But actually I even ask you that, sorry.
mhm.
Um, with your son, I know sometimes you could get kind of like keep in contact with them. Like, did you ever find out like what he did with his life? I'm assuming that was
So I actually have an open adoption with my son. Um, and the reason that I have an open adoption is that I wanted to know where he was,
okay.
because so back then, that's like, now they have like all the cameras and stuff. But back then, all the nanny cams had just started coming out. And you would hear all these stories about like kids in daycare and like, being abused and all that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want that for him. So I wanted to know where he was, and I wanted to pick his family, and to know that I think that like I mean, I was 19, so actually I was 20 when I had him, but when you're younger, you have this idea in your head that when you have kids that you're going to be want to give them this and this.
Yeah.
And if you cannot give them that, then I wanted to give him to the family that had the best chance of giving him that.
Okay.
And so from that thought is how I picked his parents. So that's how I picked his parents. So, and I decided to go with an open adoption because I didn't want to walk down the street one day and be like, you know what, that kid kind of looks like he could be the same age as my son.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to like, know that he was okay.
Have you ever contacted him?
Yeah, he and I talk.
Okay.
We don't talk like all the time. Uh, because obviously like he doesn't need a mom, right?
Yeah.
He already has his mom. So I'm kind of more like a friend, but like yeah, like he doesn't need a mom, but like I'm kind of more like a friend than I am like a mom. But we don't even talk like all the time on a friend basis,
Yeah, I get it.
because it's hard for him too because you know
Yeah, he
I,
has his own, yeah.
yeah, he has his own thing, and he's gonna be 25 this year, which is crazy.
And have you guys ever met up in person?
Yeah, we've met up in person. Um, we've met in person. He has my phone number. Uh, Sometimes we try to hang out, but he's 20. I mean, it doesn't always work out. So I
Yeah.
just when it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and I just let it be because I don't want to push him,
Yeah.
and because I can't force him to have a relationship with me and be like, yo, So I just I just kind of, let him do his thing. Like he has like when I try to reach out to him, he doesn't answer, so I'm just like, oh, I'm like, okay, because then I get my feelings hurt too. So it's kind of like I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like the last time I was just like, hey, I don't know what to say because like every time we make plans, it never works out, which is fine, right? But I think the last time he was supposed to come over, and I was like waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And like, I never got a text or anything. And I'm just like, you know what? It's okay. Like, I understand, but like, could you send a text and just say, hey, can't hang out? That's it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just respect, for the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me upset. It got me like, I was like, I don't ask for anything. I'm just asking that, you could just, if you're not able to hang out, then we don't hang out, like because I even did it like last minute, like, hey, you free today? Yeah, sure. Come over at whatever. And it didn't end up happening. And so I was like, okay, just we'll hang out whenever you're ready.
I mean, have you guys had that talk where he like expressed to you how he feels about everything?
So like back in we've had lunch, and we try to like, try to talk and like I don't like I honestly I don't know what's going on. And I haven't like I met up with him. Like I went to his high school graduation, and then I've tried like he's on Instagram, so then like I was following him on Instagram and like, you know, um commenting on posts, just to be like, hey, like
That,
just
that could
active.
be a little awkward though, commenting on posts.
The only thing I would put is like a smiling face. I wasn't putting like
Okay.
not like I was just putting emojis. I wasn't putting like,
No, no, I
hey,
get it. I get it. Even that though, they're coming from a son that who mom comments on it is even like, oh, mom, what the fuck? But
wait,
then it's
like,
just like it's a mom thing. But then like I get it. I understand.
But you
You just
then
show him love.
like because he's physically my son, but he is and he's not.
Yeah, I understand.
So it's kind of like a weird relationship. And
Yeah.
so navigating that can be interesting. How's that?
Yeah, I understand that.
So
Definitely.
like I maybe at some point later on in life he'll just be like, hey, whatever. And if not, then I don't know. But like we 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 have each other's phone number, and the last time when when he ghosted me, I was just like, okay, well, I don't really know what to say.
You haven't spoke to him since?
No. Because I just like I told him I was like, hey, what just happened? It like hurt my feelings. I just want you to know that. And I don't know what to say or to how to reach out to you. So I'm just gonna let the ball be in your court. If you want to hang out, we can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Like I didn't like I literally was like,
Do you think
you
you caught him off guard with that reply? Since it was so last minute, either way.
well, because we had talked that day, and because so before we had tried to like plan things out in advance,
Hmm.
and it would never work. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll just be like, hey, are you free today? Like, yeah, I'm free. Okay, cool. Come over and we'll hang out, like come over on this time. He's like, okay. And then I was like, do you need the address? And I sent the address. And then I was waiting and I was waiting and I was waiting. And it was like 2 hours later. And then finally I was like, hmm. And
Hmm.
then I think it was like the next day, I was just like, hey, all you had to say was I couldn't hang out. Something came up and I would have been like totally okay with that. So that's where I don't know what to I said, you could have said that uh, for whatever reason you didn't. It did hurt my feelings. I just have to like, let you be. I was like, I just have to let you know that it did hurt my feelings, and I'm just gonna let you decide. Like if you want to hang out, I'm more than happy to hang out. But if you
Okay,
don't,
so Ayla, I understand like it hurt your feelings also. Like we're all human
yeah,
in the day, but do you see how that could have came off to him?
yeah, I do now.
Okay.
I no, no, I've talked about it with like some of my friends afterwards, and they were like, "Oh," and I was like, "Okay." So then I tried to send her like uh, what's it called, a follow up,
Yeah.
and then just silence. So I was just like, "Okay." I was like, "I'm sorry. I'm not trying to like, I'm not trying to like,
Bother
I
you.
wasn't trying to guilt gaslight him. I just didn't know like what
Yeah.
to say, but I still wanted to be like, that's what it says, kind of like weird, like navigating because like I
It's not
have,
a regular situation.
huh?
No, yeah, because I was saying it's not a regular situation. It's
It's
not.
not a regular situation. Like I
Yeah.
want to I want to say, like, I have to, like, even though he is my son, I kind of have to take that out of the equation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I can't treat him like that. I just have to treat him like a person, like maybe a friend, and just
Yeah, I mean,
fulfill.
I wouldn't even say that too, because it's like, yeah, it's yes and no. Like, you kind of have to take him out of that, but you also have to kind of hold him maybe even a greater appreciation because at even though like you might like you're still you're still regaining a relationship at the end of the day, no matter how in contact you may have been or like you
Mhm.
feel like he was okay growing up or anything, but like at the end of the day, like is oh every day, every conversation with him is gonna be step one, day one again, like always in a way. So it's it's tough, but I mean like maybe you just may so all right, so did you let's get to the other question I was asking. Did you ever like get to talk to a therapist or like just somebody like get your feelings out fully like try to work on some of like not to say that you have issues, but I feel like even the word issues is like has a negative connotation to it, but some of the problems that you have to work through.
That's
And
actually one of the things that's on my list for this year is to. I've gone to a therapist before, but at the end of it, I was just like, okay, like,
It wasn't the right one for you.
yeah, it just wasn't the right one. Because like
Were
at the
were they a male or female?
it was male. He's male. And one of my friends went to him and she's like, oh, he's great, and da da da. And so I went and I'm like, I went and I don't know what I thought it was going to be like. But at the end of it, I was like, I could have told my friend for free.
Um, do you think I think you should try a female?
I think so too.
Cause I get it, you probably feel more comfortable with the guys, but like, ironically, to call back to the previous what we were talking before, like you feel more comfortable with the guys. Yeah, you had a troubled relationship with your dad, but even that relationship is has like better been become better. But I feel like the some of the things like I feel like if you talk to a female, get more of a female perspective on it. Uh, Maybe it could help you with like your relationship with your own mother, and even maybe like approaching your son in a new aspect after you
Yeah. No, I agree. No, I like the first, yeah, because the first time
And
I
and
went,
I
I
don't
was
want to sound like I'm putting any cast any judgment. I generally I want you to I want you to be like work on yourself and get a better relationship with your son and your family. Honestly,
no, I
even though
appreciate
I
your
don't like your dad. Sorry.
no, I appreciate your perspective a lot. Because I've thought about it and I'm like, you know what, I should probably go to therapy. Just so I can, talk things out with somebody. And it was like one of the things that I wrote last year was that maybe in April I would work on finding a therapist. Um, just because obviously, I mean, like I can therapize myself all I want to, but sometimes it's good to have someone else's perspective on things. Um, because, and someone like I don't know, and then now I know that therapy is like dating, where like the first therapist you go to may be like not it, and it may not be the second one, but you got to just keep trying. Um, but that I mean, I went and I was like, okay, but that person was not for me, but that doesn't mean he's not a good therapist. And I just gotta get back and try it again.
Also, you kind of gotta let your guard down a little bit too. Even though I know it's a natural defense mechanism that you had because of obviously because of what you've been through personally with your family, everything in general. But I get it. Like I know it's a
Not
tough ask.
my guard is actually a lot more down than it used to be.
Nice. That's great.
No, yeah. So like when it would come to like friendships and meeting people for the first time, like I'm very open, and I think sometimes that people are kind of surprised. Um, and then with therapy, I just didn't know, like, I don't know, like, what the therapist would tell me, or, but like I said, it's like perspective. But like, when it came to like people while like I was dating and stuff, we never really had those like deep conversations. It was just like, it was more like a superficial, they were more like superficial conversations, and I kept them kind of like at arm's length. Um, and now it's just, now it's better now, um, than it has been. And but yeah, I'm open and I tell people like what's going on in my life, and that's kind of like why I started like the podcast. Like I don't, I'm like sometimes I'm like I don't know what I'm going to talk about today. I'm like, all right, well this is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to start with this and go from there.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes I'm like, am I going to have enough to talk about?
So take me
And
back to how that started, because I know that. So you're doing the feet videos, then you did a little bit of foodie vlogs. Then so how did you end up on podcasting?
I was on so when I was doing the voice acting on Reddit,
Mm-hmm.
and then back I guess somewhere in 2022, I think, or 23, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start a podcast. And I was like, I don't know what this podcast is gonna be. I didn't know. And then finally, but I just knew that sometime in 2024 I was gonna start a podcast in the summer of 2024. And I was like, what am I gonna say on this podcast, you know? And I started with, oh, I'm just gonna leave messages for my partner every night, you know. Excuse me. And that's how, like, I don't, that's just like, I was like, because what else am I gonna talk about that I know better about? And so I just decided to do that, and I started leaving messages for my partner every night. And in the beginning, episodes 1 through 99, I had an intro and an outro. And then episode 100 did not load correctly. And I was out to dinner with my family, and somebody messaged me. He's like, "Hey, the podcast didn't like upload." And I was like, "Oh." So then I uploaded it from my phone because I had the actual audio file on my phone because that's where I
Yeah.
recorded it. And from episode 100 on, there is no intro and there is no outro, other than there's a little bell that rings at the beginning,
Yeah.
and then I say like, well, hello, my little potato, you beautiful soul. And then I just, whatever. And then at the end, I just say, and I love you. And that's it. But that's like, it's literally just me just talking and telling you about my day and what I'm going through. And there are days when I'm having, yeah, I'm having a hard day and I'm just crying for whatever reason, you know? And those are episodes are hard to listen to. But I feel like because you're with me every day, right? Uh, when I'm having a really good day, you're really happy for me.
That's good.
And because you feel for me, because you're with me on my journey as I'm going.
Yeah.
And it's like your friend. If your friends give you really good news, you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. And then your friend gets bad, and you're like, oh, I'm so sad, you know? But that's just kind of like life. And I was talking to someone today, and they're like, it's like your gift. Like it's your gift to the world. It's just I just I know what it's like to be alone and to feel like no one cares,
Yeah.
and you just kind of like you wish that somebody would like somebody you wish that somebody cared enough to leave you a message every day like good morning, or hey, I miss you, what's going on, let me tell you about my day. And I used to have like those phone calls with friends all the time where we catch up with stuff, but then your phone calls end up like being like 3, 4, 5 hours long. Not everybody has time for that.
Yeah.
Um, but everyone has time for like 15 minutes, you know? And so 15 minutes of me just telling you about my day and what's going on. And that's why I started saying it. It's like I couldn't do it without you. It's like letting you know, like I appreciate it because I want them to know that they're worthy of somebody, like somebody cares about you enough to leave you a message every single night. Like, well, I say every single night, but like it's most nights. Okay. I got to the end of, I checked my stats last year, and at the end of the year, from July 1st to December 31st, I had 180 episodes.
Nice.
And there were 183 nights between July 1st and December 31st. So I missed three somehow, right? But I haven't missed a single night since. And it is my therapy. Um, because I'm literally talking my day out, because there's days when I don't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's for a lot of people. and me talking my day out like gets it out there, and I'm like, it keeps me from, I call it like literally swallowing my own shit, because if I just keep it inside, I think that that causes a lot of issues, like psychologically and physically. I'm not a doctor or anything. I just, that's just my personal opinion. Feels like that's why there's a lot of like autoimmune issues going on. Um,
Yeah, you need that release.
yeah, so you need that release. And so to me, like that's what this podcast has become, is maybe like, maybe I don't have like a bunch of listeners, right?
Hmm.
But I'm really like, I'm doing it for me, but I'm also doing it for you. And you can like on my Spotify, I'll look and the same four people are tuning in every week, right? And I'm okay with that because they're like, they want to listen, and I put my podcast on, um, I put it on Spotify, I put it on Apple Podcasts, of course, I put it on YouTube, but I also put it on Soundgasm, which is where a lot of the voice actors from Reddit host their audio files.
Sound gasp,
Soundgasm.
soundgasm. Okay.
So Soundgasm, kind of like sound and orgasm. So
Hmm.
Soundgasm. And I can see on there how many people are listening to, right? And I'm okay with my, beats probably like 20 people that listen on a regular basis. That's fine by me because it's me, and like I'm putting it out there, just, if 20 less people of the world, they feel less alone just from listening to me,
Then the
then I'm
job
okay.
is done. Yeah, the
I did my
job is
job,
done. Yeah.
and if I'm the only person that told them I love you that day, I did my job, you know, and I did what I'm supposed to do, right? And my job, I don't know, like I don't have like a technical job at the moment, right? But if my if my job was to come to Earth and to let people know every day I love you, and those people found me some way, somehow, and they tune in to listen about my day, and it helps them to feel less alone. And at the end of the day, they hear, I love you. And if they tune in only for that, I did my job, right? Now, of course, I want them to tune in for the whole thing, but if that's all they listen for, if they listen for the beginning, for when I say, hello, my little potato, you beautiful soul, and for the end, when I say that I appreciate you so much for all the love and the support and the encouragement, and thank you so much for listening, and I love you, because that's what they tune in for. I want them to tune in for all of it, but that's kind of like one of the reasons it's shorter, Um, but it's very authentic, and I can say that because I've fallen asleep on two episodes.
Hmm. Like
I
recording it?
Yeah, I was like laying. There was two episodes where I literally fell asleep. The first episode, someone told me they're like, "You." I fell asleep, and I woke up. I fell asleep at like 12 minutes and something, and I woke up and it was like 14 and change, right? And I was like, woke up and I was like, oh, thank you for listening. And that was the end.
That's
And
not
so I
bad.
put it, and so I put a disclaimer on that episode. There's nothing wrong with your sound. I fell asleep. And then there was another episode where the same thing happened and you could hear me snoring. But again, I woke up at like 16 and change, and I was like, oh, sorry, thank you so much for listening, and like stop the recording. And I put disclaimers on that. Or I had an episode where I was like yawning a lot. So now I put YW as the disclaimer, and it's like yawn warning. Please do not listen to while driving or operating heavy machinery. Um, because if I'm yawning a lot, it's gonna make them sleepy. So I just, I put like, I'll put that at the beginning, like little disclaimers like that. But generally, I don't fall asleep, but sometimes I do, and I just leave it in there.
And
And
so,
if
so have any of the fans reached out to you?
um I I was on Feet Finder for a little bit at the end of last year and this year,
Yeah,
and I um I I have a listener now from Feet Finder,
nice.
and he follows me on Instagram, and he like comments and supports and does that way.
He
And he
follows you
actually
on everything.
yeah, he comments on everything, and he actually has questions sometimes, and he'll ask me questions. And we were talking the other day, and he's like, you know, all the people on, like, he's like, so did you have any really success on Feet Finder? I was like, no, not really. He's like, no offense, but I see you as more of like a counselor than somebody who's on Feet Finder. I'm like, yeah, I kind of got the same thing. That's probably why I didn't do so well at it. But
That's hilarious.
yeah, but he's cute. I just give him like little life advice here and there.
So did you ever, I was gonna ask the same thing. So is there any real money in that?
Well,
Or do you think it's just your content?
in Feet Finder,
Yeah, or like just the feet industry.
so I think I've read articles where people are making like a lot of money off of it, but those people that are making a lot of money off of it, that's their job. Like all day, every like I've read articles where this girl was like, yeah, I make money, but like for the first 2, 3 years, that's all she was doing.
Hmm.
And she didn't take holidays, she didn't take birthdays, she didn't do Christmas. She was just like working, working, working. But I've heard from other people that not really because there's so much free foot content online,
Yeah.
like everywhere. So
Yeah.
I think that the companies that are making money are the companies that are, you know, hosting the website. But as for the actual people, I don't know. Not I never really did.
Yeah, 'cause
But
I don't get that. Like I like feet, right? So I like feet. And I can say like I'm attracted to feet, but it's not like I want to do anything. Like I don't see myself ever like purchasing like feet pics to like masturbate to. You get it? Like I just don't see it. But I mean, I guess there's people doing that, obviously.
you know what the stuff? So like I didn't know this, right? But like feet guys, if they see the right foot, can come within 30 seconds.
I mean, I get it. I guess.
When I first heard that, I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, you put like my videos were like, remember I told you like in the beginning, my videos were like five, like I was talking to my feet,
Yeah.
and I'm a talker, so my videos were like 10, 20 minutes long. The people would reach like people that would reach out to me. They're like, "Oh yeah, I watch your videos like two, three, four, 5 times because I it takes me like." They're like, first 30 seconds they already came, and then they're like, "Oh, there's more." And so like one video lasts them a while. I don't get it. I don't know. It,
So do you ever get any like weird requests? Like I also do you like dirty feed it or like do you clean feed it? Or like I know this sounds weird. It sounds weird to me. This might be normal to you.
well, I tried the dirty feet thing once just to see, what was like what came of it, but nothing really did other than I made like some pictures in the dirt with my feet, like art.
Yeah.
Um, and then the weirdest request somebody ever got was like they asked me if I would crush something. They're like, "Would you crush something with your foot?" And I was like, "I mean, like animal crackers, you know?"
Isn't it
But they
something
want
like squishy so I could go through your toes?
no, they wanted me to squish like a goldfish.
A goldfish?
Yeah.
No, what the hell?
Yeah, they wanted me to squish. They're like, "Would you go to the store and buy a goldfish and squish it?" I was like, "No." Like,
Nah, man, I'm gonna need like 10,000 for that. It's animal abuse.
because to me, I'm like, what did the goldfish do, right? But he
Yeah.
like, so, you know, um, but yeah, he's like, "Will you crush something?" Because there's guys out there that they're crushers. They like when girls crush stuff. And
Yeah.
I was like, "Animal crackers?" sure, right? And he's like, goldfish. I'm like, no, sorry, not doing
Okay. Damn, that's weird.
it.
So have any of them tried to like I know this gets a little weird because then I feel like that goes into a whole nother industry. But have any of them tried to do like meetups with you? Not
um,
to do anything, but like to look at your feet or like feet worship or anything like that.
yeah, I've done it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I've done it.
And these are like the same guys from Feet Finder?
Uh, no, not from Feet Finder. I don't remember where I met these people, where I met them from. Uh, I met two of them when I lived in Massachusetts, and I think I found one on Instagram, maybe.
Yeah.
I think I found one on Instagram, and the other one, I don't remember where I found him from. But like there's like a saying, like just because you own a liquor store doesn't mean you're an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Like just because you are the foot model does not mean you have a foot fetish.
Yeah, I get it. You're not even into it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so I never understood it. I was just like, okay.
So can you take me but like what are you doing in these days? Like is it just straight up feet worship? Like what's going on?
Yeah, these people are like, they just want to do like foot worship most of the time.
So what
Um,
does that entail?
like, so I have high arches on my feet, and my arches are so high that when I look at other people's feet, they look flat to me. And people are like, no, their feet are not flat. It's just that your arches are so high that everyone else's feet look flat to you in comparison. Because, I only look at my feet. I don't look at other people's feet,
Yeah.
so I don't, right? So when I look at other people's feet, I'm like, why are your feet so flat? And then I'm like, when are you going to learn? My feet are not flat. It's just that my feet are flat in comparison. Like everyone's feet are flat apparently in comparison to mine. So like mine don't really touch the ground.
What you mean?
Um,
Like the
my
mid
arches, when I wear like flip-flops, my arches don't touch the ground.
at all, like from end to end, side to side?
From the instep, they don't touch. So like I used to have a pair of flip-flops, and where the arch is still brand new.
Oh wow.
Like you could see the imprint of my foot from the rest of the shoe, but where the arch is brand new because my foot, that part of my foot never touched the ground.
Okay.
I mean, I'll send you a picture if you want
I mean that's
of my flip-flop. I'll send you a picture of the
okay,
flip-flops.
I was about to say, don't you charge for that?
Yeah. It's just if I'll send you a picture of the flip flop and you'll see like, oh, like I'll it'll make you understand. You'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, because describing is one thing, but like I'll find the picture and I'll send it to you and you can see.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
But like they'll be like they want to touch my arches because my arches are like really soft.
Mm.
Um, they like sucking toes, and I'm just like, okay,
Wait, so you let them t suck your toes?
yeah, I did before.
Well, okay, yeah, obviously. Okay, but so how much do you charge for that?
I don't. I think the I think it was like I think like an hour was like I don't do it anymore because I think an hour was like 100.
That's it? I feel like that's an undersell. Putting your life at risk there.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, yeah, at least you don't do it anyway.
no, but what have you learned about me?
To me, that you're risky. You don't know how
But
to touch
besides,
people.
but besides that is that I probably undervalue myself.
Okay. I mean, oh, okay, yes, definitely. Well,
So then
yeah.
the $100, you're like, that's a little cheap, and I'm like, yeah, well,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not charging $100 to meet a complete fucking weirdo from the internet who's obsessed with feet. Yeah, that's not enough for the risk on my end.
yeah. Um, There was one guy I met. I didn't meet him off the. I met him off the internet. I never met him in person, but he was like very different. Like he wanted degradation, like, and I cannot do that.
He wanted you to degrade yourself?
Him.
Oh, okay.
He wanted, and I was like, "You want me to what?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want you to like tell me like blah blah blah." And I was like, "Nope, can't do it."
Yeah,
He
especially
wanted me to like get him kicked out of his apartment so he could be, and I was like, "What in the?"
he could be homeless.
Yeah,
What the hell?
it was like the strangest thing. I was like, "Okay, I don't really know," but like,
I mean, what if he was just all talk? Like he's just thinking up random scenarios. Like, yeah, can you get me kicked out of my apartment building? Yeah.
I have no idea. I just was like, no. I mean, I like I have I I don't like I record like affirmations and stuff for people, you know?
Yeah.
So I record affirmations. So to degrade someone is the complete opposite of that. I'm like, I cannot do that.
Yeah, I can definitely get that part.
I'm like, no, I'm not, I was like, I worked so hard to build myself up and I know what it's like to be like that. I'm not gonna go out and be like, oh, let me go out and degrade Sunny today. Like that's not gonna happen. Like I'm gonna be the one that's like, hey, how are you today? You're amazing. You're,
So what? So is that guy the sketchiest situation as far as like the feet thing?
yeah, that one person was like the weirdest and sketchiest. I was like, what? You want me to what? And I was like, no. I was like, yeah, block.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So so Ayla, on the pod on this podcast, I always ask the guests, have you ever had a paranormal, alien, or just something you couldn't explain happen to you? Experience.
I was thinking about that because I heard you talk about it with Gary, and I don't think I've I don't think I've ever had one. And maybe I have, and I just don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
But like Gary's was saying that he like had the somebody disappear, the thing that disappeared and everything. But like, I mean, I don't think I've had that. Yeah, because like, and I thought about it. I was like, have I ever had anything? And I was like,
Okay, I mean, it's not, if you've never had anything, it's fine. Like, plenty of people haven't had anything really happen to them. Have you, and so nothing even spiritual. Like, have you ever had like a moment where you felt like you were in the presence of, like, you saw the higher creator, not physically or anything, but like you felt like the presence, it was a direct answer to your prayers or anything? Well, I also didn't ask if did you continue the religion? Like, are you still religious?
um, I wouldn't say I'm religious. I'm more spiritual.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yes.
And there's a saying that I heard a long time ago, a couple years back, and it said, religion is for people who are scared to go to hell.
Mhm.
Spirituality is for people who've already been there and don't want to go back.
Oh, nice. I like that.
Because it's like you already lived in the hell of your own mind
Yeah.
or whatever. Because hell doesn't have to be like a place. Hell can be in your own mind, like you can create that place.
Yeah.
And you're making sure that other people don't go there. And so you be a light so that for others that like just because I live this life doesn't mean that you have to also, and guiding the people out of that. Or like um sometimes I feel like in my life is that there's not really any lights ahead of me. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Let me explain that. Like there's no lights ahead of me because nobody's been on this path.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm the one who's supposed to like turn the lights on for people. And I don't know how, but like just kind of like, okay, this is how I did it. If I did it, so can you, Um, kind of like that, like in an encouraging way. Um, but I don't know, and I won't know until I die, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, but um paranormal but I'm when I say like paranormal, like I'm also a healer. So I'm a Reiki practitioner.
Oh yeah, you do Reiki? I have somebody that did Reiki.
Yeah, so I'm a Reiki practitioner, and I do Reiki on people, and
Nice.
I do Reiki. The way that I do Reiki is
How do your parents feel about that?
they don't know.
Okay, sorry. No, I was just joking. I'm pretty sure they didn't fuck with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
they don't know. Apparently I'm a good one.
Oh, nice.
Um, one of the first, the very first person I ever gave Reiki to was in my class, the Reiki class I took.
Yeah.
And um, when after I was done giving her Reiki, I was like, okay, and I called like I forget what happened, but like my technology glitched out. So I can't like she could hear me, but I could not hear her. So she was typing back to me while I was talking, like when we were done, because I was like, hey, come back. And she has the most expressive eyes of anyone I know. And when I called her back and she came back, her eyes were bugged out. And to me, that was the greatest evidence that what I was doing actually worked. Because I lived in Massachusetts at the time. She lived in Michigan, and I did it over Zoom.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask that if you
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did it over Zoom. And she could feel me. She could feel everything that I was doing. And that was the very first person I ever gave Reiki to. And I cannot imagine a better person for me to give Reiki to the first time because there was no doubt in my mind when she got up that I was like, oh, that should work.
We gotta do a Reiki session. I had one, an attempt at one on the show. I don't really feel like I think I was kind of hesitant. It's maybe you could check the podcast out. It's called I forgot what it was called, but the guy's name is Drake. If you just check out any of my podcasts, but he I kind of felt like it was I maybe had my guard up because
Mhm.
from what I saw about Reiki healing, I'm expecting like the energy stuff, but like his line of questioning was kind of given more like t hypnotherapy type of thing vibe. So I had my guard up a lot, and I was like, so I was kind of fighting it. I kind of felt like energy, but I don't know if that was more in my head.
Right.
But
Um,
I was also trying to play it. Because I was open to it, but then like with the line of questioning that he was asking, I kind of caught myself like being on point. Like I don't know, are you trying to hypnotize me or something? Like,
mhm.
yeah,
um, Everyone is different. Okay.
yeah,
And there is no wrong way to give Reiki. There is no wrong way to receive Reiki. And I, uh, I used to get Reiki from people, right? But I was always like, they'd be like, okay, well, I'll see you at 9 o'clock, but like go to a quiet room and lay down at 9 o'clock and I'll send you Reiki, right? I'm here like, how do I know if they're actually like there at
yeah,
9? You know what I mean? And so when I do Reiki, I actually I do all of my Reiki via video or in person. It's one of two. I don't do the distance thing. We are always on video. And I tell people, and because I need you to know that I'm there with you. And especially, um, I need you to know that I'm there with you. And it actually even says in the Bible, like when two or more are gathered in my name. And so that way you know that I'm there. But
uh-huh.
more importantly, your inner child knows that I'm there
Mm,
because nothing is happening if little Sunny on the inside does not feel safe with what is going on. And if little Sunny does not feel safe, little Sunny is going to leave those protections that you have, whether consciously or unconsciously.
yeah,
If little Sunny does not feel safe, he will not put those down. And so when I give Reiki to people, my first session is probably 2 to 3 hours long.
Okay.
And the reason for that is you don't know me, right? And if you don't know, like having someone in your energy is a very, very, very precious thing, and you don't want to let just anybody in there,
Yeah.
You're like you are precious and you are amazing and you are incredible, right? And you're just gonna let some person that you don't know that you've seen on the internet, like, hey, come on in, play, right? Like, no, you are a fine dining restaurant. I need the bread, I need the butter, I need like all the nice glasses, right? This ain't like this ain't Chick-fil-A where we're serving like two lines and both, like I want you to have that quality experience. And I say that everyone comes to me with 100 pounds of baggage. And that first hour generally of me doing Reiki to you, giving you Reiki of our Reiki session is you and I talking. And we talk and you and I get to know each other. And I make sure that your inner child is like, oh, okay, she seems like a good person. She makes me feel safe because if at any point you're like, you know what, I don't vibe with you, I'm like, okay, cool. We just end the session. It's not a big deal. It's no offense because like not everyone's gonna vibe with you, right? But my goal is at the end of the first hour that you're like, okay, now you feel like we're comfortable, like we're friends, like, going on that path. And then I will ask you for your permission to send you Reiki. Because, and I don't ask you one time, I ask you 3 times
Yeah.
because my inner child is very, very polite. She's very sweet. She's very nice, right? But if you say to her, hey, Ayla, do you want ice cream? She's like, yeah, I want ice cream. But she just says it, because she's polite. I mean, she wants it, but she's polite. So the first time she hears you say, hey, do you want ice cream? She's like, yeah, I want ice cream. And you go, hey, Sunny, can I send you Reiki? Or Ayla, can I send you want ice cream? She's like, yes, I want ice cream. Because now the second time she listened, she actually listened to what you said. And the third time, I'm like, hey, Ayla, you want some ice cream? She's like, yes, take me to go get ice cream already. It's like that enthusiastic consent. And that means the guards are down because she's ready. She's like, yes, I'm ready. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Right. But without that consent, she will not
Okay.
because she hears you, she listens, and the third time she really understands what's going on.
Yeah.
And once she feels that, all the guards are down and I can get to work. But if I can't, if your inner child does not give me permission, I won't do it. I
Won't
can't.
work. Yeah, because it
I mean, I
won't
can
work.
do it, but it won't be as effective, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then I tell people, then people are like, okay, what do we do next? I'm like, get in bed, close your eyes, and point the phone at you or the laptop or whatever it is that we're meeting on. And don't open your eyes until I tell you to. And then put your phone or whatever on mute. So there's no sound from your end and there's no sound from my end. And just close your eyes and don't open them. That's the only thing I ask. And point the phone, whatever, at you. And then when I'm done, I say, hey, come back. And generally, um, most people fall asleep, but actually, it's actually the greatest compliment when they do because it means that they trust me. And so then they come back and we talk about, what they experienced. And I tell them what I did. And then they're like, okay. Um, but I work on building that trust with my client, and that's why the sessions are so long. It's not that I'm giving you Reiki for all 3 hours. It's like therapy, life coaching, and together, which is how I feel it should be. Because I don't want you to just like, go around and stir things up. Like, I want to know what it is so I know what to work on. Um, it's like you go to the doctor's like, you're like, hey, doctor, I don't feel good. Okay, cool. Well, everybody else seems to be like this. Let me just, here's a Z pack. And you're like, but I don't need a Z pack. Well, everybody else needed one. What? But they didn't really talk to you.
Yeah.
So I'm very one on one, like making sure, hey, are you good? Are you happy? Are we okay? Okay, now I feel good. Now I feel comfortable. And so people tell me that they get Reiki from other people and they're like, well, I don't fall asleep. I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. You don't have to fall asleep. There's no wrong way. If you don't fall asleep, it's okay. I don't mind. It's fine. But generally, because I went through all of that, their soul feels comfortable, they fall asleep. It's just how it is, because they got to know they're like, oh, okay, she's she's gonna be comfortable, she's gonna take care of me, and she's not gonna let any harm come to me. So I think that's why. But everyone is different. And so when you got that Reiki from the other person and they made you feel like they were questioning you, your inner child probably didn't end up feeling safe. And that's maybe why you had the experience you did. And it may not have been a bad one.
Yeah, it wasn't totally bad. I just, cause I got something out of it, but it probably wasn't what I,
Thought you would.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay. Well, Ayla's we've been on for about 2 hours now. Have any last messages you want to share with the listeners?
I think it's just the same thing that I tell to everybody is that you matter and that you are perfect and that you are loved and that you are worthy and that you are more than enough. Not kind of enough, sort of like you are more than enough, like period. You know? Um I that was actually my first affirmation was you are enough. Actually, it was I am enough. However, I found that you are hits harder because if I say you are amazing, you are incredible, versus you go to the mirror and you say I'm amazing, I'm incredible, it doesn't like hit so easily. So I always tell people you are because you are Sunny. You bring life to people by making them feel seen and heard,
You're
and
also amazing and well worth everything.
and that's like the message that I go to tell everyone is that you're like go tell I like the song popped in my head like go tell it on the mountain.
Yeah.
And I go tell it to the world on the podcast that you are loved and I love you and that you are worthy of being loved no matter what you did or what your day was like, who you hurt, anything like that. Even if all you did today was lay in the bed, you are still worthy of love
Yeah, definitely.
because you are alive and amazing and you are God's creation. Whether or not you believe in that, you are still created by somebody and you are here on this earth. And if you and I know what a challenge it is sometimes to be on this side of the ground, right? And there's so many times in life that I was like, where you're like, am I on the right path? Am I on the right path? Am I on the right path? And the answer is that if you can hear my voice, you are always on the right path.
Hmm.
Because like right now you're like, I'm not on the right path. But then like 5 years from now, you look back and you're like, dude, I couldn't be where I am now without being where I was back then. So maybe it doesn't feel like you are, but you're always on the right path. So another thing to remember is like if you are, how do you know you're on the right path? If you're on this side of the ground, you are on the right path. If you can hear my voice, you are on the right path. You may not see it now, but you'll see it later. And that's all that matters. Because at the end of the day, are you still on this side? Yep. Still alive, still kicking. That means you can still go out there and you can still live your purpose. And you don't have to live your purpose every single day, every single moment. Being alive is enough. And sometimes that's enough of a challenge.
Yeah.
And then you just get through that challenge, you go to the next thing. And eventually all the steps will come together and you'll get there and you'll wonder, oh, I don't know how I did that. And it's just because you just believed that it was possible. And sometimes that's really what you need the most.
Well said. Well said.
That was long winded. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, dude, that was great. So, Ayla, before we go again, let the people know where they can find you.
Steak and potatoes, STAKE, and potatoes with a three instead of the E. On Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Apple Podcasts. If you go to Reddit, my username on Reddit is lots of gifts 555. Um, because even that I had to figure out that I actually what I do have lots of gifts and talents and things like that. So that's why I named mine. And 555 is the number of change and lots of gifts 555 on Reddit, steak and potatoes on Instagram, Facebook. No, not Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you want to send me an email, steakandpotatoes@gmail.com, like I'd be happy to uh, get that. And I'll send you that info so you can put in the show notes as well.
Definitely gonna put all of that in the show notes. Well, thank you for stopping by again, Ayla. Thank you for sharing your story, man. And uh, you're doing a great thing. Just I see that you're working on yourself. You're healing others. Even like your project in itself is a healing journey. But yeah, man, you're doing amazing things. Keep it going. You never know who you're helping out there. But
Just
thank you
doing what I
again. I
can.
appreciate you stopping by. It's been a great episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. All of Ayla's links will be down in the description. Make sure you send me everything too. Yeah, everything is down in the description, man. And just like that, man, it's been a great episode. See you guys next time. Peace.
Thank you for having me.